Hey y'all, it's Deb. Welcome back. Today I'm going to share with you something that y'all have been asking me for, our debt-free story. Our story begins over 20 years ago. Adam graduated from college and became an officer in the military. That means he graduated debt-free. I did not graduate debt-free. So I have a twin sister and we have a pretty poor background, which is fine. Our parents did not have the money to pay for us to go to school. So while we were seniors in high school, we were awarded a huge academic scholarship to a local university that we both attended, and it did not have the degree that I wanted. I decided to go because it was basically free, not realizing that I was miserable. Come to my junior year, I decided this is not what I want to do. I switched universities, lost that scholarship, like you do, pursued the degree that I really wanted, but because I had no financial backing, I had to take out student loans in order to pay for it. So I graduated with about $16,000 in student debt, and we get married. Cut to, we have two boys very, very quickly, close together. They were about 2 and 3 and 4 years old, somewhere around that time. This was back in 2006 and 2007. So yeah, they were about 3 and 4. Adam challenged me to read Financial Peace by Dave Ramsey. That book got my attention. Now that is something to be said. I'm not a big reader, and for a book to hit me that hard, this book was something special. And it wasn't because, Dave Ramsey was this rocket scientist. I mean, his principles have changed our life, yes, but this was not new stuff. What really got to me, if you've never read that book, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not in debt or whatever, it'll keep you on fire, because there are so many true stories in there of people who really struggled, got themselves out of debt, were in way worse situations than what we were in. And be careful, don't compare yourself to other people, but in a way that should give you hope. There were also stories of people who did not get out of debt, and that will lead to a horrible financial crisis really quickly. And that's why that book got to me. I cried, and I don't cry that often. I really don't, but I cried every chapter. And I just kept thinking to myself, if we get into a financial horrible crisis, it's going to be 80% my fault. Not because of the student loan, but because of my current attitude. My attitude was, every American has a car payment, which is almost true. Every American has a credit card that they owe money on, that they're barely making the minimum payment on, that they're probably never going to pay off. Every American who's ever been to college has a student loan. I had all these faulty ideas in my head. I don't know why. I don't really know where that came from, but I believed them. I believed all the lies. So that was the first thing that this book helped to do. This book helped to really break that, which I'm very, very grateful. There are so many real people stories in there that I felt so connected to, and that's really what got my attention. So once I finished the book, now I'm on fire. And you're looking at your 3 and 4 year old. Adam and I were sort of still newlyweds. We were only 27 at the time. So we had $16,000 in my student loan. I had about $1,000 in a credit card in college because I was young and dumb. And then we very stupidly purchased a brand new van. Now, hang on, I'll explain that in a second. We were really dumb, young and dumb. We bought a brand new van. So that brought our total to about $40,000. Now, again, this was back in 2006, 2007. So we could get a new car for that. We drove that van for 15 years, I think 16, into the grave. The van literally wouldn't even turn on anymore. The engine was done. The transmission was done. We put that thing in the shop more times than I can count. We got our money out of it, yes, but I would never do that again. So 2006, 2007, we've got $40,000 in debt. I'm finally on board because I read this book. Thank God for that book. Now, as I tell you our story, we don't agree with everything that's ever come out of Dave Ramsey's mouth. However, his financial steps there's a reason why for 40 years they have worked. He understands the way that people operate. It's the same way as losing weight. Once you start to see the scale go down, or your pant size go down, or your blood work is better, financially, once you start paying off those small credit cards first, or the small loans first, and then you snowball it, if you want to know what I'm talking about, YouTube the 7 baby steps from Dave Ramsey, you'll understand what I'm saying. There's a reason why those steps work the way they do. You start to sense this momentum, And once you see that, especially on paper, on your bank statement or whatever, once you start to see that, it will really get you pumping. And you'll be like, oh my word, we are going to do this. We are going to have financial freedom, and we're not going to owe anybody anything. Okay, so now we're both on the same page, which is so important. And let me say this, if you are wanting to get out of debt and your spouse isn't, challenge them to read this book. Now, don't be mean. Just, say, listen, I love you and I don't want us to fight about money. I want us to always have a really good relationship. I think it might be helpful if you read this book, or we can read it together. So that's what did it for me. So we're $40,000 in debt. We've got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. We're still in our late 20s, so we're pretty young, which is great. And now we're on fire. We're ready to do this. Our income, y'all, was tiny. I was not working outside of the home. I was staying at home with our children, and I would not change that. I love it. I would never want to exchange those years. But we had to figure out how we were going to do this on a small income, one income. And if you know anything about the military life, we are moving all the time. While the military does pay for most of it, if you've ever talked to a military family, they do not pay for all of it. So if you've ever moved across the country, you know how expensive this is. So we had to figure out, how are we going to do this? One income that was small, 2 small children at home. The wife is not going to earn an income. She's going to be at home with the children. And we're probably going to have to move somewhere in this journey. We've got to get this done. So the first thing that we did is we wrote down our rent, everything that you cannot change. Rent, electricity, water, sewer, things like that. We went down to, you got to understand, this was like 15 years ago. So cell phones were very different. We didn't have a smartphone. I'm kind of glad we didn't have a smartphone, but there were no smartphones, no iPads, nothing like that. So we had like a little flip phone, like the Nokia. I'm pretty sure we started out with the Nokia. And then I had a BlackBerry. I don't even see those anymore. Do y'all see Blackberries anymore? Anyway, we had the cheapest cell phone. We called the company, went down to the cheapest bill. We canceled cable. We went down to the cheapest internet possible. And this was back in the day where it was just past the dial-up, but nowhere near the fast stuff that we have now. It's so funny to think about that. Anyway, we called every company that we had any kind of leeway with, and we said, what can we do to lower our bill? We canceled our YMCA membership. I used to love going to the Y because they had childcare, and it was my break from the toddlers for a little while. Plus I could get my exercise in. We canceled all that. I'll just go ahead and tell you, I saved up some money for a while and bought some workout DVDs. They're so old now, but we changed anything in our life that we had control over. The only thing that we could not change was our rent, electricity, stuff like that, our car payment and the credit card payment, things like that. The next thing that we did is we went bare minimum on the groceries. Now again, this was 15 years ago, and I remember, I'll never forget it. I could feed our family for about $450 for the entire month. Now, even back then, that sounds like it was a lot. Anytime we were moving with the military, we were living in higher cost cities than probably what I grew up with, definitely what I grew up with, where Adam grew up, things like that. So groceries were more expensive even back then, but I could do it for about $400 to $450 a month. We did not do anything extra. We did not eat out, nothing like that. So let me tell you what I used to do. Thinking back now, it's so cute. What I used to do with the boys, every Friday, I would pack our lunches. I had to leave the house. I cannot be a person that stays home all day, every day with toddlers and never leave the house. So I was going to have to figure out, how am I going to do this and not spend anything? So this is what I did. Every Friday, I would pack our lunches and we would go to Chick-fil-A and eat right there. Now I felt bad because I wasn't ordering anything, so I would get one lemonade. I would order like $1.50 lemonade. All 3 of us would share it. And toddlers don't care. If you think toddlers care about eating out, no, they don't. They just like to be around other people. So I would pack our lunch, order a lemonade, and then they would go play in the play area. Now, this was back in the day when it was not a germ cesspool. Would I do that now? Probably not. Or I'd spray the mess out of it. I just don't want the flu. I'm so scared of the flu. The flu's going around my city right now. I just don't want it. Anyway, Every Friday I did that. Every Monday we went to the library. Every Tuesday we went to the Children's Museum. And I think we got in for free because Adam was military. There's no way that we paid for that because we wouldn't have. So every Friday, Chick-fil-A, every Monday, the library, every Tuesday, it was the Children's Museum. Wednesdays, we stayed home. And then Thursdays, every Thursday, I would take the boys to the mall in the double stroller, and we would walk, or I would walk for a good 30 to 45 minutes. They loved it. They just wanted to see people and be out in the world. And then when they would get a little restless, and again, I would pack our lunches. When they would get a little restless, I'd get them out and let them go play in the children's area. Now, I got smart about it because anytime I took them to the Children's Museum, the children's play area in the mall, and the play area at Chick-fil-A, I would go when nobody else was there. So I was there at 10 o'clock in the morning when the doors opened. All the other moms showed up at like 12. I was going home by 12. So we never got sick. The boys got to play. It was always free. And we were so on fire and motivated back then. I could walk through the mall, the Children's Museum, all these places, Chick-fil-A, where you would normally spend more money, and I didn't spend a dime. Our budget was tight. I quickly found out that I have the personality of somebody who likes a challenge. You tell me that something cannot be done, well, see, now I just want to do it to prove you wrong. Those are the things that we did to really attack this debt as quickly as possible. I will say the only thing that we did not do that I probably would do today just because of grocery prices, we didn't do a ton of rice and beans. I remember we did a lot of potatoes and bread. It was so cheap back then. We didn't do a lot of rice and beans. I'm not sure why, but anyway, that's the only thing that people recommend now that we didn't do back then. But if you watch Dave Ramsey on YouTube, and all of his stuff is free on there, I highly recommend it. It'll get you so motivated, especially when you hear the really great stories and the not so great stories. If you are in this journey and you are struggling with feeling motivated for whatever reason, you need to go watch those videos because it'll get you fired up. I mean, I've been fired up for years and I still go back. And when I feel the temptation to sort of veer from our plan, all I got to do is spend about 30 minutes watching those videos online and I'm good to go. Okay, so we utilized every possible avenue we could think of to limit our spending, get free entertainment, bring our grocery budget down, limit as much as we possibly could. And I'll tell you what else we did. We called our, because this is going to include a Christmas and some birthdays, right? So we called our parents and our siblings and we said, we love y'all, but we're young and dumb. And now we got to dig our way out. You're not getting anything for your birthday or for Christmas. And that's just the way that it is. If you really care about us and you care about our future, you will back us up. You will encourage us and you will be understanding when we can't afford to buy you anything. Y'all, sometimes you just gotta say the thing, let people respond the way that they will, and move on. Did everybody respond well? No. Do we care? No. Their response is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to be honest and be responsible to my husband and for my children. Anything beyond that is cake. So you need to be honest with the people in your life. If you normally have a girls' trip and y'all go shopping once a year, you need to be honest. You need to be honest and you need to say, no, I cannot do that. And if you love me, you will support me during this time when I can't do it. And most people are really, really great about it. Very, very rarely are people going to have a bad attitude. The people who have a bad attitude, they obviously don't have your best interest at heart, and that may be something you need to address. But I really, really recommend you call the people in your life where things might be a temptation, like eating out, vacations, whatever, and you need to be honest. So our getting out of debt took about a year and a half. I mean, we attacked it as hard as humanly possible. So if my memory is right, we had about 40 to 42,000 in debt. We got out at about a year and a half. It was fast. It was faster than what I thought we were capable of. So it was very exciting. I'll never forget it. It was Valentine's Day, 2007, I'm pretty sure. And I know why I'll never forget it. Here's why. It was Valentine's Day. We had one more payment left on the van, and I'm pretty sure it was over $1,000. It was a big payment. We get the boys in the car. We get all bundled up. We're living in Virginia, so it was really cold. We drive to the bank. This was back in the day when you didn't do things online. We drove, and we were so excited. We drove to the bank. I went inside while Adam stayed with the boys in the car. I wrote a check. Every hair on me was standing up. I was so pumped and so excited. And the people at the bank knew us, and they were tracking what we were doing, so they were excited. I was excited. I go in there, I write the check, I slide it under the window, and I'm like fist pumping. I'm so excited. The lady behind the desk was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are so inspiring." I go back out to the van. I'll never forget it. And I looked at my husband and I said, "I'm so happy. This is so great. We did it. We are debt free. Woo! Are we really just going to go back home? Like, we're not going to go to Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is one of our favorites. We're not going to go to Chick-fil-A, or like, we're not going to go to Wendy's or something just to celebrate. One. Two, it's Valentine's Day." And he was like, "Deb, we don't have any money left." Like, we had no money left. And I just remember, see, I was young and dumb. I was very self-absorbed. And I just remember thinking, man, this would be one of those times when I just want to go out and celebrate. And I'll never forget it. He said, "Well, we're going to have to wait until March." And we did. We celebrated in March. We went out to eat, and it was so much fun. I will never, I'm 43. This was 15 years ago. I will never forget that day as long as I live. It was, and he and I both agree, the best Valentine's Day ever of both of our lives. Even now, best Valentine's Day ever. Okay, so it's 2007. We're out of debt. Yay! Y'all probably think, cut to 15 years, their house is paid off. Nope. We're human and we make mistakes. And even this far into being financially free, we still made some not so great decisions. So very often, if you listen to the Dave Ramsey Show, you will find that once people get out of debt, it's very exciting, but it's like running a marathon. You really do start to lose your momentum, because the saving for 3 to 6 months living expenses takes a long time. For most people, it takes well over a year. That is a long time. When you don't see the progress as fast as you see your debt repayment, it can feel like you're running through mud. It can feel very frustrating. You lose your motivation. It's a lot like losing weight. It's kind of the same mentality. You hit your goal weight, and then maintenance really is harder. And anybody who's lost weight will tell you that. So we go through this process, we get out of debt, and we're like, okay, 3 to 6 months living expenses. We got it done, which was great. So baby step 3 was finished. So now we're into the retirement, college funding, and getting your house paid off. That was 15 years ago, and we are still within 4, 5, and 6. So let me explain something that can be a little bit complicated in the military world. So it's very normal to finish baby step 1, 2, and 3 and get kind of stuck. It's very, very normal, very common. I'm here to sort of help you get out of that. So Adam was in the military for 20 years. Thank God. He retired about 1.5 years ago, and has disability. He's got a terrible back. It's a long story. When it comes to baby step 4 and 5 for him, I forget which one is 4, which one is 5. One of them is college for your children, and one of them is retirement. So we save for retirement for me. We do not save retirement for him. He has his retirement from now until the day that he dies. He worked for 20 years and served in the military. That was his investing into his retirement. So he already gets his retirement now. We're very thankful. God's been very, very gracious and very kind to our family. So praise God. We are so, so thankful. We do not, for us, we don't have to save for his retirement. We do need to save for mine. So we're in the middle of that. We have an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old. That means we're going to have 2 in college at the same time for 3 years. That's a lot of money. Did we save for that? No, we didn't, and I'll explain why in a second. Part of it is we just had some other things in life come up. The other thing is we didn't have a lot of extra money to do it. And the other thing is we lost our motivation. So The boys are both working their way. They both have a job. They're both saving, and they have worked very hard in high school to get academic scholarships. We are in a position where we are going to be, we think at this point, doing the math, we're going to be able to help them pay for school and graduate debt-free. Obviously, that is the goal. So for us, baby step, whatever it is, the college saving, that one's done. We have that all planned out, and we're just saving for my retirement. So we're doing those. 8 years ago, we adopted our daughter from China. Now, that's a whole, maybe one day I'll do another video on that, but that was a $35,000 process. That's the same thing as a down payment on a home. I don't want to get into that. We could have a whole 3-hour conversation on that, but in between our finishing baby step 3, which is 3 to 6 months living expenses, and now we cash flowed, and it took a very long time. We cash flowed that adoption process. We also so I told you that my van lasted 15 years. I needed a replacement, so we cash flowed my current van, and we cash flowed Adam's car that we just bought a couple months ago because the boys have inherited his old car. So we have stayed out of debt, which is great, and we've kept 3 to 6 months living expenses in the savings account, which is great, but we just kind of gotten stuck at 4, 5, and 6. So cut to now, about a week ago, he and I got remotivated. I don't really know what happened, but we both got remotivated, and starting this month, we are attacking our mortgage with everything we have. We are kind of going to treat it the same way as we would any other debt, because the truth is, the bank owns our home. If you have a mortgage, you do not own your home. I hate it when they, like when you buy a house, they go, oh, yay, welcome to home ownership. You don't own your home, yo. The bank owns your home. They're just letting you live there. Anyway, that's a whole thing. Adam and I don't want to owe any person on this planet any money for any reason. That includes our house. So we have just gotten really fired up recently, which we're both really grateful. We're on the same page. We're making a plan. We have a budget meeting at least once a month. We are going to attack this mortgage with a vengeance. So stay tuned for that. I'll be updating. So that's where we are now. So I took you 15 years back, actually 20 years back. This is where we are currently, in the middle of paying off this house. We're going to be, for the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to be helping the boys get through college, getting that done. We are also going to be giving where we can. So I don't want to spend the next, 5 to 8 years attacking this mortgage and never helping people, never giving above and beyond what we give to our church and some missionaries that we support. We still want to be very, very giving. We're very grateful for what God has given us, and the money is His anyway, let's be honest. And He's just letting us manage it. We want to manage it well. So we want to make sure that when there are people, especially people that we love, that need help, we want to be able to do that. So some months we're going to put more toward the house, some months we're not, depending on what's going on with the people around us. I just want y'all to know that in the middle of paying off debt, in the middle of getting your 3 to 6 month savings built up, you still need to give where you can. Now, if you are broke, and you can't give financially, you can give of your time. I know people say that a lot, but you really can. You can serve in a lot of places that would be the same thing as giving up money or whatever. So find places that you can serve. It'll make you feel good. It'll take the focus off of yourself, put focus on other people, which is what we ought to be doing anyway. You'll actually get way more out of it than what you're putting into it. Find places that you can serve. Find people around you that you can help. Yeah, and so that's what we're doing. I hope you'll join us along for the ride. That is the story of how we got out of debt and stayed out of debt, thankfully. Hopefully we never go back to that again. Our plan now is to attack the mortgage, and I hope that you'll join me for the ride. I'll be updating y'all as much as possible. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for your attention today. I hope y'all have a great day. Bye.